This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 176. Today, we're talking about power, specifically claiming and sharing power as a leader. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage polarity intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders, and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself. Well, good morning, good day, good night, whatever time it is for you, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome to another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, and I am your host, Michelle.
And I'm Tracy. Here we are. Whatever time of day it is, here we are.
Well, you never know with podcasts, right?
I know. Somebody's out for a walk. Somebody's in their car.
Somebody's in Germany. Somebody's in
Spain.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really fun.
But we're here today for you.
Yes. And we're talking about power.
Power. Woo.
Wield that power. Wield that power, right?
Yeah.
And, there's just first have to acknowledge that sometimes power has some negative connotations to it, doesn't it?
It does.
But that's not what we're talking about today.
We're talking about good power.
We're talking about positive power, right?
Yes.
So there's power, right, that's associated with roles. If you're a healthcare leader, right, if you are a part of the C-suite, if you're a director, you're a manager, like you have a role, or you could be elected to a position in an organization, like Michelle was the president of National Academies of Practice. So with a role, there's an assumed sense that there's some level of power associated with that role. There's also kind of authentic personal power, which I don't think is talked about that much.
It's not.
We're going to talk about today.
Personal power.
Yeah. And that emanates from within. It's not external to you, right? And really, nobody can give you power.
You can't.
Nope. Power doesn't come from external sources, right? It may be associated with a role, but if you don't own the power, if you don't have your own personal power, you don't step into that power, then over time, right, that people will believe that you don't have power within the role. So it can't be given to you.
Right.
You have to step into it. You have to own whatever power it is that you want. And, or it just, the perception or assumption of power dissipates over time.
Right. You don't get it with the title.
Nope.
That's not how it works.
Nope. We think it does sometimes.
We do.
We think it's all about the title.
That's right. But it's not.
It's not.
So claiming power can result in negative consequences if it isn't balanced with sharing power. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And this is a critical polarity to leverage for healthcare leaders. Especially if you want to improve engagement with your teams, address the significant challenges that are happening today. Learning how to claim and share power will really get you far.
Yeah. And I think, we've been talking to leaders all across the country. Everybody's in a little bit of a state these days, right? Like there's just a lot going on. There's been a lot that's been experienced. There's a lot of dissatisfaction. There's been a lot of trauma. There's just been a lot going on with staff and for leaders, right? So there's a lot of emotion, I guess is what I want to say, in organizations. And, so it's a critical time, and to really be aware of this, that the only way through is to share power. And if you're a new emerging leader, You just might not have that awareness, right? Because you're stepping into a role with a title and it's got some power associated with it, right? So we're just here to kind of just help bring some broad perspective to this. And if you're like other emerging, evolving healthcare leaders in these times of uncertainty and complexity, where there's a high demand, you're looking for the new normal. Where's the normal? Where's the stability, right? And you can kind of just get in a swirl around that, waiting for somebody to come around and say, oh, there it is. Go get it, right? Go in that direction, right? So you can kind of get caught up in that.
Yeah. And you may feel like you're, not worthy of the power that you have because you're still learning or inexperienced. So even though maybe you are an emerging or aspiring leader, you're not feeling it yet. I haven't arrived yet. Mm-hmm. Or you may be working under someone who is exerting their power. And as a new leader, you feel exerting your personal power is a career-ending move. Like it takes courage to put your power out there, right?
Yeah. To stand for what you believe, right? Which is really a part of that power, right? And so the challenges really for emerging, evolving leaders there's 3 mistakes that you may be making. One is you may be playing small and not exerting your personal power, taking a stand for the things that you believe in, the things you know. Holding the limiting belief that because you are a new leader that you don't have wisdom to share, so you're not bringing your voice, or overemphasizing diplomacy to keep from presenting something that might be considered a competing or contracting, perspective, right? Something that's contradictory to what other leaders might believe. Mm-hmm. So you might be making one of those or all of those mistakes.
And that can result in some consequences, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So it reduces your credibility and limits your success if you, play it small or do some of those mistakes, and also your relationships at work will suffer. Or you could end up abdicating and diminishing the influence and impact you could have.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So when you both claim power and share power as a leader, then ultimately what happens is you are able to establish and maintain healthy relationships, because it's not about power over, it's really about power with.
It is. Yeah.
Everybody's empowered, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a power over situation. A power over situation is when you're overemphasizing claiming your power, right?
Right. So we're going to share with you some reasons why it's important to claim and share your power. And when you claim your power, some of the positive things that can happen is it gives you credibility to be a success. Mm-hmm. You're claiming it. People see you as influential. They seek you out. And that speaks loudly.
Yeah.
Right? They see the outcomes around you because you are claiming your power. Or you can gain confidence regarding how you can help others achieve their objectives. So that is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
You can take a stand and negotiate for yourself. And at the same time, you are able to admit when you are wrong. That's an important attribute of claiming power. Take that stand, negotiate for what you want. And I love that you also can admit when you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can be both powerful and vulnerable while being true to yourself. So when you really own that power internally and claim it, then that you're able to demonstrate that pretty easily.
Yeah. And, and be vulnerable at the same time. Just be open, right? Be open. And there's positive outcomes when power is shared as well. So others can claim their personal power. When you share power and open the door for them to stand in their personal power, everybody has that opportunity, right? So they can claim their personal power when you are open to that. It releases the potential in oneself and in others to grow and learn and become together something more than they would have separately. And then there's a balance in the relationship between self and others. It's a reciprocal relationship, a reciprocation of, that shared power, right? The power that I have and the power that you have. And that is all in service to the shared purpose. Mm-hmm. So it's leveraging each individual and collective power to achieve that shared purpose. That's what we're all about. The
We
shared
are.
purpose.
So how do we do that? Well, we leverage the 3 pillars of the dynamic balance effect framework to support leaders in our true healthcare leadership program. And through that, we can help them claim and share power. And the first pillar is mindful choices. So this really helps to connect with yourself, really go inward, right? And get aligned with your values, your beliefs, and make mindful choices to shift what does not serve you. And that just makes you strong from an internal personal power perspective when you get centered, and then you make choices and decisions based on that. And then the other is leveraging polarity intelligence. And this is leveraging the principles and behaviors necessary to establish healthy relationships with others at work and at home, because power lives in both places. Your personal power shows up at work and it shows up at home too.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about polarity intelligence as, differing perspectives, right? Those that can seem to be contradictory to each other, and the time we're in and wanting to hear the perspectives of all, that, leveraging healthy relationships and dialogue is how we hear and learn and share that power, right? The understanding, the wisdom that comes from all perspectives and both perspectives when you're looking at a polarity.
Right.
Yeah.
And then through our personal alignment pillar as well. And this is recognizing your personal power and how it can help you achieve what you want the most, because we get centered on vision and your strengths and all of those things, habits, all of those things really help claim personal power as well.
Yeah.
So the consequences, if we don't really leverage some of those tools and processes to claim and share power, then our healthy relationships are not going to be sustainable. That's that dynamic balance that you were just talking about, Tracy, right? Won't be sustainable. You have to have it.
Yep.
And if you do not recognize the personal power you have, you cannot have the impact you desire as a leader, because you will not speak up, right? You're keeping small. You're not going to share your knowledge or perspectives with others or advocate for yourself and others. So it's going to get in the way of your success as a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. And choosing mindfully, right, is so critical, and that can only occur when we're connected to ourselves, right? When we really know ourselves, we're clear on those values, the purpose, the strengths that we have. That's how we can step into that power, choose mindfully. And when you share power, you enable others, right, to claim that power, strengthening them, right? And their, and the relationship among you, right, among the team members, that enables the wisdom of the collective to come forth and the different perspectives, right? So we can leverage all those different perspectives and the wisdom of the individuals that make up the team. And again, just in service to that shared purpose. So it's all about getting to the shared purpose.
Yeah. And we have done work in healthcare for over 30 years. And in our organizational work, we really help them to empower the people and to look at the current infrastructures. And from our personal experience, personally, but also working with organizations, one of the best ways that you can really have personal and shared power show up is in a council infrastructure. So we were thinking about and getting ready for this podcast interview, who's someone that really emulated or learned how to cultivate both of these. And we thought of a leader that we worked with in the past, and we're still very much connected with her now. And her story is really about coming from that place of title and being a manager, or she referred to herself as an institutional manager because that's how she was taught. You learn the management piece of the role. And when we started to look at bringing councils together and having staff have a voice, there was fear associated with it, right?
Sure, loss of power.
Loss of power, loss of control. And so it didn't happen overnight, but there was a realization that this is really important. And so she began to just kind of loosen her grip a little bit, started out with her immediate leader team, and began to recognize that, you know what, we all care about the same thing. That's where the shared purpose came in and was really important. And then from that, had, full-blown councils on the different areas that she was accountable for, and really came to embrace the whole partnership council infrastructure, and realized that it was really the staff that gave voice to what was most important when it came to practice issues, and it cost from a financial perspective as well.
Budget. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So one of the things she eventually did was take the whole budget planning process to the council, and she experienced it was the staff that came up with the cost reduction strategies and different suggestions. And it was like, wow, it isn't about just my personal power as a leader. It's about sharing it as well, but bringing my expertise on what I know about budgeting and teaching the staff as well. And right now, with all of the financial implications in healthcare, I think it's a good example too of how we can claim and share power as we navigate through some of these challenging times.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's essential.
It is.
And, the council infrastructure brings the individuals that work in the unit right to the table so that they represent the individuals that they work with and their voices are heard. And, that's not always welcomed either. It can be hard for leaders, but it can be hard for staff who are used to, not just let you make the decision. And then when it doesn't go well, I'll blame you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a growth opportunity for everybody. And I think what we learned in the work we did with council structures was it wasn't just about practice. It was about relationships and dialogue and understanding and really revealing the wisdom everybody had to make those decisions. And she was just an expert at that. And I think, there was grace and growth as she was engaged with them as a leader growing and had that vulnerability. I think she was vulnerable many times with her team, right, about where her preferences were and where the challenges were. So it's just it's a journey for everybody. And we're not, this isn't just a walk in the park, right? There's things we all have to learn about it, right? In both ways, those that are claiming and sharing, right? So, and another thing is, we've taken all the lessons we've learned as well, and we share power in our little small company, right, with our teams. And one of the ways we do that is we have a tool that we use, which is a healthy relationship or partnership tool, and we use that with everybody in the organization. Different ones of us having closer relationships with other individuals that have different responsibilities. But it's really about two individuals coming together and leveraging this tool to talk about expectations, to talk about their roles and accountabilities and responsibilities. So there's clarity between the two individuals around those elements. So there's no surprises for me about what expectations are or what we need to do to keep a strong relationship, how we can best communicate with each other. Just there's a number of different things that people use to leverage to share power and claim power, right? So I can say, this is what I expect from you. This is what you can expect from me, right? Those kinds of things. So we can stand in our own power, set our own boundaries, have clarity between two individuals. So it really fosters that partnering relationship. And it's something that you can come back to if you start to face challenges or things we're not following through or being integral with our word. We can come back to those tools and say, hey, this is what we talked about and agreed to, and this is not what I'm experiencing. But we also share this with the individuals in our coaching program. And recently we shared it at a retreat that we facilitated for a number of leaders in our coaching program. And they took it out right away. They were just so excited to use this, right? Because relationships are everything, right? And we've got an individual that is moving into a new role, new organization, and she's meeting all kinds of people and going to be working with people for the first time. So she's really leveraging it as a tool to help understand what people expect from her and to bring forth her perspective around her new role, how she wants to operate. We have others that are facing some challenging relationships with other leaders in their organization, and they're using it as a tool to come together around common ground, to have an understanding of each other, to foster a stronger, better relationship. So there's lots of different ways. New hires, people are coming in, new
start
hires.
Out.
Yep. So let's sit down. Let's just have the conversation. So there's all different kinds of ways to do it. But the bottom line is healthy relationships through claiming power and sharing power within our roles, within our responsibilities, and empowering others at the same time, right? So it's really all about the both and of that. And So those are just a couple of examples, I think, that are really great examples of how to both claim and share power and what can happen when you do that. And so before we close, Michelle, you're going to read off the 7 reasons to claim and share power?
I am.
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go. Gives you credibility. So that's really important, right? Gain confidence regarding how you can help others achieve their objectives. Helps you take a stand, negotiate for yourself, and at the same time, you are able to admit when you are wrong. You can be both powerful and vulnerable while being true to yourself. Others claim their personal power when you share power. It releases the potential in oneself and others to grow and learn, becoming more together than separately with shared power, and there's balance in the relationship between self and other to achieve a shared purpose.
Wow. Those are some pretty good
reasons.
Yeah.
Good reasons
So
to
get out there,
claim and share. Claim and share.
More power to you. Well, that wraps up this episode. I'm sure, I hope it was helpful and enlightening for you. We really enjoyed doing it, and we just really thank you for being here and listening to this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. And, if you're a leader motivated to be the best that you can be, then we really encourage you to sign up on the early interest list for our Leadership Survival Boot Camp. And you can sign up on our website, which is missinglogic.com/new-events. We have a proven strategy that will really help you. And this is really one of the first steps in claiming power, right? Claiming power over your own life, right? And your personal and professional life. And then if you're a leader who is working with a team that may be, facing some significant challenges, struggling, and you really want them to be thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leaders, then we'd love to talk to you. You can reach out to us at Tracy@missinglogic.com or Michelle@missinglogic.com, and we'll share with you the different ways that we're working with teams of healthcare leaders to help them become true, thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leaders. You can also follow us on LinkedIn at Missing Logic LLC, and that's true for all the other social media platforms as well. And then, don't forget, we do have a newsletter. So if you'd like to subscribe to that and just be connected to us, learning kind of what we're up to and some other, tips and tricks and things that we share in our newsletter every week, then you can go to our website also to sign up for that and to subscribe. And that is missinglogic.com/newsletter. So that was a mouthful. That's it for today.
This is how we can claim and share power.
That's right.
In all different ways.
That's right. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Take care. We'll see you then.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.